what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and there's a beta build today, but I brought no Warlock changes. So, with that being said, we're continuing the series on AF Demonology stuff for a beta, basically being midnight release. Today, we're looking at Demonology, talking about like the specs, all that kind of stuff, little points of feedback, and just general theory, I guess, like theories, brainstorming, I'll say, on the actual spec itself for a handful of different builds and things, an M plus rating, all that I like. Also, I'm gonna mention a couple more times because we're basically right there. We're like 800 subs away from 100k on the channel. It's less than 1,000 now. it increases more and more every day, more than I think it will. If you guys aren't subbed to the channel here on YouTube, it would mean the world to me if you considered it. I mean, if you did it, it'd be even better. I mean the world to me. We are super close to 100k. Yeah, I don't know. It's insane. I didn't think we'd even hit it before midnight launch, but hey, here we are. So I appreciate you guys regardless, though. Much love. Okay, so let's get into this. So Demonology has changed a decent bit from where it was initially in alpha. I mean, initially we saw it in a form of having like this imp cap. Someone's gonna ask, this is Warlock Reminders, the add-on. Warlock Reminders. It was in a form early on alpha where we had this weird like imp cap where you had a max of 3 and then 6 and then 9 3 different talents you had in your tree, and it just felt like it was a very, very, very over streamlined version of Demonology. There's a lot of feedback given on that early on. The imp cap I thought would grow on me. It really didn't, but thankfully Blizzard came in during like late alpha, early beta, and basically scrapped all of that and have given us a much better version of Demonology. For those who aren't aware, the Apex talent is basically a fixed version of like Nether Portal, which we played like in Dragonflight, Aberrus, a little bit of Vaulting Incarnates and things like that. Basically, summoning your Tyrant, which is a minute cooldown, gives you a period of time for 25 seconds that whenever you cast two-handed Ghoul-Dance, it summons a demon. You summon the purple and red bosses from Sunwell, Sacrolash and Alithis, I think what her name is, and a couple other demons too, some Jailers, Inquisitors. Pretty cool. It does a lot of damage as well, which is really strong. It's a minute cooldown essentially. It's tied to your Tyrant, and that makes Demon have a really strong 1 minute damage window, which is good in M plus rating. Very strong damage profile universally. Now, when it comes to like Diabolist versus Soul Harvester, we're looking at more of like a single target build here. However, there have been changes pushed to Soul Harvester, there were about 2 weeks ago, that made things a lot more interesting. So we'll cover hero talents first. Basically, Diabolist is for the most part what you've seen for a long time. You have your demons like Cloven Soul, summoning your Overlord, Pit Lord, Mother of Chaos, and the demonic oculi, diabolic oculi from retail. Our tier bonus from Omega, which is gone, is basically now our hero talent. And Diabolist has been the better hero talent overall to play for single target and rating for Demonology, basically all of alpha through beta up until last week with the buffs that came in to Soul Harvester. Soul Harvester, obviously, I mean, if you've seen beta the last couple days, probably it's been played a lot. It's probably the best spec overall on beta right now. I'm surprised I didn't get tuned today, but hey, I just play the game. But yeah, so basically your new Apex row gives you like your tier bonus from Mana Forge Omega. Your Succulent Soul consumes a chance to spawn your demon and whatever. It does soul swipe on enemies in melee and thrashes around, does damage. Double Mastery here as well, which you can gain more through your tree from things like Master Summoner, as well as Practice Rituals, so a bit of extra damage value there. And basically things that amplify it even more. Now, buffs came into Soul Harvester a couple weeks ago. And they I believe they buffed Wicked Reaping. I think it was from 10 to 30. This is buffed from 5 to 35% for wild imp damage. I believe they buffed Soul Anathema too. A couple other things here and there are buffed as well. Oh, Soul Swipe from the Manifested Avarice talent was buffed a good bit as well. It's important to note these changes did not make it to retail for pre-patch, but they are indeed on beta. So basically, what you see here on beta is what you're going to get when the expansion launches, or the week before when they put out like the midnight second pre-patch, whatever you want to call it. I don't know at this point. But yeah, so now I think a lot of things are interesting when it comes to Demonology's actual like spec tree here, both in single target and AoE. As far as like these are concerned, Soul Harvester is better than Diabolist everywhere. You just play it everywhere until it gets tuned, if it does. But the Apex talent has shifted Demonology a lot away from what you've played for the last few expansions, but it still has the core of Dreadstalkers, Imps, Three-Handed Gul'dan, Implosion, AoE, or Siphon. It's a talent choice note here, basically. But it's like at its core the same, but the way you approach the spells you cast and things has changed, once again, based around your Apex talent. Now, for single target, there's been a couple of different builds I've seen. I've been playing basically this build here. Same thing for Soul Harvester as well as Diabolus. Only thing that changes is right here. And for the most part, I mean, you're skipping over things like Fell Armaments, Empowered Fellstorm, Dreadlash and stuff, Blighted Maw, a couple other crit modifiers here and stuff to get your more single target based talents. You still have your Vile Fiend here, or your Shatug and Faharg, which are basically your Vile Fiend. This is summoned passively now through your actual like demonic or your dogs, Dreadstalkers, which are free now. They literally cost 0 shards, have no cast time every time. This talent here has fundamentally changed Demonology. It's made the spec totally different, and I mean, it feels way different, way better. I pray this talent stays here at this exact effectiveness, 2 less shards, no cast time, 100% reduction, until Demonology goes away, whether that's in a year or 100 years from now. This has made the spec feel 10 times better. It is phenomenal. But besides that, I mean, you're playing other modifiers like Tyrant's Ablation, which gives you haste when Tyrant's active, which also makes you have more haste for casting more Hand Grenades for Diminutive Argus. Other talents as well. Just in general, you're playing Master Summoner for more mastery damage. I'm not playing Sack Souls here, and I think there's a world where we could play Sack Souls, but without like Imp extension, and some builds at M+ aren't even playing Ram of Tyranny, without Dog extension, it seems a bit lackluster. It's going to be a sim thing in the long run, and that's sort of like the case for Demonology when it comes to a lot of stuff. A lot of Demonology's talents are just sim talents. I mean, like, I don't think this is very good. Your Felguard's pretty bad overall, but like, this just straight up says it deals 10%. It has reduced Fellstorm cooldown. This gives your Felguard 20% more Fellstorm damage or whatever. This gives more crit. This gives more crit strike chance. This gives more mastery. This gives more Shadow Bolt and Demote damage. A lot of these are really hard to tell when it comes to like when you have a lot of talents that are like doing 1 to 1.5 to 2% of your damage. There's variance in every test here when you're hitting a dummy. A lot of external modifiers are happening possibly. Ebonmite's being thrown around randomly from Evoker still too. Things are in execute. It's very hard to tell what is going to be like the front runner here for talent wise. Or what's going to be like the best build overall when you get to like more of the niche talents like Sack Souls versus Summoner versus Demonic Brutality. But I do feel this is relatively close. But I could see a world where you end up playing something like possibly pulling a point out of here, or I guess somewhere, and hopping over here into Sack Souls. But I digress. The bigger thing that I sort of want to hit on today is the Apex talent, and I guess one of the things I want to hit on, Reign of Tyranny, which is sort of up in the air for discussion right now when it comes to like being part of your M+ build, and even like your single target build. So when you're playing in single target, I've been playing this build for most of my raid testing and stuff. You have Siphon versus Implosion up here. Demonology is bugged on beta right now, a good bit. So I'll show you right now. So we have this talent here first off. It is called Hellbent Commander. So I actually haven't tested this yet, but we're going to test it right now. I'm going to summon a Felguard. I have 1 stack here, so I have 1 imp following me around basically. It's my actual imp for like my Warlock in general. But I'm going to summon a Felguard here. So we have 2 stacks of Hellbent Commander. Now it has 1. So it looks like they might have fixed the Hellbent Commander bug where Felguard was stacking as far as like the effect he was giving. If you could summon multiples, it would just give 2 effects. Actually, no, it's not. It's still bugged. So there you go. Oh, no, it went away. I got a random PI. So it looks to be fixed more or less. So that is 1 bug. That doesn't indeed appear to be fixed. It's just sort of slow to check, apparently. But so there is that. The second bug that I want to look at here briefly is actually also based around Hellbent Commander, and that is whenever imps expire, they take double the amount of stacks away from Hellbent Commander than the number of imps that expire. So basically, if I have 9 imps out, I'd have basically a 10 stack of Commander, 9 from imps and 1 from my Felguard, and if a set of 3 expired, it would go from basically 10 to 4, not 10 to 7, which is what 3 imps expiring should give. It's bugged and taking away double the amount of stacks. So I want to see if that's still bugged here as well, because I haven't been on beta much past this build coming out today and see where it's at. This is bugged, I guess. It's fine. There we go. So Handy Gul'dan here. So we have 4, because there's 3 imps from Handy Gul'dan. We're going to have 7 now. I'm going to try and build the 10. We'll see a set expire here in a sec. So we have 7, we have 10. Now a handful are going to expire. Yep, and it drops to 4. So basically you're losing double the amount of value there. You see we have 3 active here still. We should have 4, we have 1. So imps are still double consuming the Hellbent Commander stacks than they should be. Which means that realistically, Demonology is stronger than it actually seems when it comes to like, you know, Hellbent Commander value and buffs as well, which is pretty important to drive home here. Another bug with Demonology right now is that your Tyrant, if you're playing Implosion, which I am not here, but I can try and get out of combat maybe at some point here and show you, So your Tyrant, whenever you implode, Tyrant is dynamic in War Within. He will update his demonic or demon fire buff, basically, based on the number of pets that you have active. So let's say, for example, if we swap to Demonology here, let's just, this is an M+ build, it's not the right one I'm playing. Not the best one, not the current one I'm playing, but it's fine. It's playing Implosion, that's the big thing. So let's say we're playing this build here in M+, I'm gonna leave my pet, I'll leave him on passive here, actually. It makes it a little easier. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to hit this thing. I'm going to build some shards here, and then I'm going to Tyrant. And I want you to watch, I'll target my Tyrant as well. I want you to watch the stacks that he has when it comes to his raw damage amp. Because once again, he gains value for each wild imp and dog I have active, but it's dynamic. So if I have 3 imps active when I summon him, he's going to have a 30% buff. If I cast a Hand of Golden while he's active, it'll jump to 60, and then back to 30 when a set expires, so on and so forth. Every cast can be different depending on the number of pets you summon. So going into that, we have, let me just get this, I guess I'll put him on aggressive, I won't be able to see my screen. So I'm going to go to 5 shards here, and I'm going to Tyrant, I'm going to show you what he has. So let's just Tyrant here straight up, right? So there he is. He's a melee. He has basically 0 stacks. So I'm going to hand here. I'm going to hand again. He has 7 stacks. Watch me implode. Now he has 10. So what's happening, he's going to expire there too. But what's happening is there's a bug with Tyrant where if you implode imps, we imploded 6 there. He's not losing the stacks that he should when it comes to those imps no longer being active. It's maintaining the same stack count, but adding the 3 additional imps that spawn from to hell and back to his power, which those 3 imps with Unstable Soul being added to his raw power should be there. That's correct. But you're not losing the large amp when it comes to imploding the 6 imps through implosion to get these 3 back. Now, there could be I could see a world where that is an intended mechanic right there, because realistically there has been, in conjunction with like Blizz having some issues with Demonology and like trying to explain the implosion rotation, it's sort of complicated in the past and stuff. They wanted to simplify implosion for a long time. I could see a world where Blizzard purposefully has left that in as like a thing where instead of like everyone questioning, well, do I implode during Tyrant or not, or what do I do? Because it doesn't really buff things much anymore, just more gains power from this. It buffs like certain things to Abyssal Dominion, but the large like Tyrant buffs and things are gone. It's just more doing damage on its own, and it can extend dogs by a little bit here if you're playing Ram Tyranny. But imploding during Tyrant has more been like a what do you want to do here thing with like Abyssal Dominion and such as well. Do you want to implode in single target? Do you want to wait for them to lose their value or expire? What's better here? But if Blizzard has intentionally left that effect in the game where imploding does not remove stacks from Demonic Tyrant, and it's just worth it in general, more for like an AoE scenario where say, oh, I'm in stack target cleave here, 3 or 4 targets, 5 targets, whatever, 2+ targets. I want to implode, but I have Tyrant out. I shouldn't implode here. I could see a world where they purposefully left it like that, where it's not going to consume stacks of the imps being thrown, basically, on purpose. Do I think it's the case? Probably not. It does seem like it could be abused a decent bit, but when I have like 7 stacks in my Tyrant here and hit implode, and then he jumps to 10 stacks doing 100% increased damage versus 70, that is both a single target increase. Like if I'm in a patchwork fight, that's more damage behind my Tyrant, as well as giving him more cleave damage because we're playing and torn armaments here. So imploding in, I mean, basically for the most part, I'm just imploding on cooldown and plus, as long as I have 6 imps, and as long as basically it's relevant, like in any kind of AoE scenario, whether I have Tyrant out or not. He's dynamic, and he'll update regardless. Even if I implode with him losing 6 stacks there, for example, and then getting 3 back from to hell and back, the next Handing Rule that I cast will put him back to 6 stacks, and then 9 stacks, right? So there's definitely a threshold of like where you would want to versus not if this works, but it's definitely worth pointing out. I want to drive home, like, yeah, Demonology does look strong right now. The Soul Harvester buffs that came in last week were likely really, I mean, probably a little bit too much, just being honest, but I don't want players to come in and totally like nerf demonology into the ground, because there are some bugs. I mean, this bug here that's propping up Demo's damage, it's pretty well known now. I think I discovered it a few months ago. Someone else probably had to, and not taking credit for it, but it was discovered about a month ago. But it's still there. It's definitely bumping Demo's damage up overall in AoE, buffing your Tyrant a good bit with another modifier being in Torn Armaments, Imps in general not removing stacks, and you also have the issue of Hellbent Commander actually not being as strong as it should. When Imps expire, they basically take away double the amount of stacks. So there's a bit of give and take there. Both bugs need to be looked at and or addressed, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's more tuning heading into like this weekend, like Friday-ish, where Soul Harvester might get knocked down a little bit. I think that might pertain, it probably pertains more or less to something along the lines of where's Soul Harvester. I wouldn't be surprised if they hit Soul Swipe a bit, and if they hit things like Wicked Reaping to like 20%, this to like 20% on Imps, this, maybe like Volition, a little bit of Imp nerf, probably a swipe nerf, and maybe this, a bit of a reduction in what they buffed. But it's really, really cool having Soul Harvester be part of Demonology. We haven't had Soul Harvester really being played for Demo ever. We've never played Demonology with Soul Harvester in a competitive, like, this is the best spec setting. Pretty sure we haven't. If we have, it's been like one fight and it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's fun because not only do you have like, you know, the random Soul Harvester proc spawning in, and you don't know you can count on your Soul Swipe dude, whatever his name is, this demon guy, to like your demonic soul to thrash around in melee. You also have the really nice refunds from Shadow of Death. Now, we're gonna sort of like shift into the other part of the video here, looking at your Apex talent and talking about talent builds here, but technically, I mean, both work well with the Apex talent. You can build the 5 shards before you Tyrant, whether you play Soul Harvester or whether you play Diabolist. And obviously, you can just build the 2 shards and then Tyrant, and you have 5 as Soul Harvester. But I mean, either way, both can make it work. So when it comes to your Apex talent, whether you're playing Soul Harvester or Diabolist or Diabolist, however it's pronounced, you basically want to cast as many Hand of Gul'dans as possible when your Diminutive Argus is active. It lasts 25 seconds. Your Tyrant lasts 15. He'll last, I think he lasts 20 with this. Maybe it's 10 and 15. I'm not even sure at this point. But he lasts a while. This lasts longer, point being. This is the majority of where your damage is at in here anyways. There's so many random numbers at this point, I couldn't tell you. But either way, you want to optimize the number of demonic cores you have going into a Tyrant window and the number of shards you have being at 5. 100% at 5 going into like your Tyrant cast. So the next 2 casts you do can just be Hand of Gul'dan, Hand of Gul'dan. Because every Hand of Gul'dan you cast reduces the shard cost of it basically by 1. So it's going to be like 3, but basically it's almost like 2 shard hands in a sense. You're going to be at 5 shards, you'll go a hand, which will put you to 2, but then you basically regen 1 in a sense based on how it's coded, it looks like. And you can then cast another hand after that. They've changed Hand of Gul'dan to not be castable for less than 3 shards. So if you have 2 shards or 1 shard, you physically cannot even hit the button. It won't do anything. So that's sort of that's why you want to have like a large amount of demonic cores built up, whether it's through Power Siphon or, you know, dogs expiring naturally, heading into a Diminutive Argus window. And that's the case for both M+ and Rating alike. Now, when it comes to different talent builds here, like the single target build, I played more or less this. This pet does amount to like 4.5% of my damage in single target. A bit more, a bit less, depending on kill times. I can see a couple things changing again, like Sack Souls, a couple things here and there, maybe some modifiers based on sims. The bigger question, though, is Mythic Plus. So I've been playing a build like this for a good while. However, last week or so, we shifted into a build that looks like this. Now, I mean, this is single target based, to be fair. Here's my old M+ build, right? I think it's right here. Yeah, we were playing this. We shifted into a build that is not playing Rune of Shadows. We hadn't played Reign of Tyranny for a couple weeks now. I think Metro was experimenting with this initially, where you didn't want the Dredgestalker extension. And we'll get into that basically in a second here. But in addition to this not being played, last week we also haven't been playing Rune of Shadows. So the build looks basically like this, where you're pulling a point, or just 2 out of here, putting 1 in Brutality and 1 in Rituals. There could be a world you want to play Improved Tactics, something instead. It just depends on sims and things in the long run, right? But the bigger thing here is that you're not playing Reign of Tyranny in M+. And honestly, I could see a world where you don't even play this in single target. I think you likely do, but The big thing without playing Ring of Tyranny is that you don't get the dog extension, which seems like, oh, actually, I would want dog extension in M+, right? But keep in mind, dogs expire and they give 2 guaranteed demonic cores. And that's pretty important because you're not playing Power Siphon in M+. It's a choice node now. You don't have Implosion and Siphon alongside each other. You're basically playing Implosion or Siphon. You're playing Implosion in M+. So having these guaranteed cores come in basically 15 seconds earlier than what they would with Reign of Tyranny fuels a good bit more of Dominion of Argus, Hand of Gul'dan cast, so on and so forth, right? So if we want to look at this in combat, once again, keep in mind, basically, you want to go into your Tyrant, or whenever your Tyrant cast finishes, however you want to word it, you want to have 5 Soul Shards. You want to have as many Demonic Cores as possible, which is instant cast Demon Bolts. If you're playing Soul Harvester, which most everybody is at this point, Shadow of Death will give you 3 shards when you cast Demonic Tyrant. So if I go in like this, I'll have 5 shards when the cast finishes. I'll have 6 theoretically. I'll overcap, but I mean, it is what it is. You get what I'm saying. If you're playing Diabolist, you got to build the 5 with Shadow Bolts or Demon Bolts beforehand. Basically, you cast Call Dreadstalkers before your Tyrant, whatever, at some point, and then cast Tyrant. Now, there's a little trick you can do if you're playing Soul Harvester. I'll talk about it here, and then you can look at it when we get into combat. You can sort of, you can spell queue one of your 2 shard-consuming demons. So you have your dog, and then plus for kicks, cost a soul shard if he's off cooldown. Or you have Doomguard, which is a 2-minute cooldown, reduced, but it has a cooldown reduction on it whenever you cast Demon Bolt, which is somewhere in here. It's yeah, in his baseline tooltip, right? Cost a shard as well. So basically, the cast sequence you can take for Soul Harvester is, like right now, if I'm right here, I cast dogs, whatever, dogs are free, cost no shards, via Demonic Calling. I would begin casting my Tyrant, and I just spam either Doomguard or spam Fel Ravager. If I have both off cooldown, obviously I'm hitting Doomguard and AoE. If I have, I mean, in single target, whatever. I mean, they're both like fine. But you can basically spell queue it. So where I have 3 shards right now, if I'm spamming my Doomguard when the cast of Tyrant's going off, when it finishes, it'll instantly consume the shard for my Doomguard or my Fel Ravager, put me to 2. Then the game will recognize Shadow of Death's like shard generation talent from the Apex talent right here, and will give me 3 shards. So it'll build me to 5 shards, essentially allowing me to game it a little bit. Does it really matter a whole lot? Not really, but I mean, it can sort of save you from wasting a shard if you're at this threshold here, right? So let's get into that. We can also look at how the Apex talent plays out with no Ray of Tyranny. You'll see when the cores come in from the Dreadstalkers expiring. It's 15 seconds earlier. It's basically in the middle of my Apex talent window. I might get a core or 2 from Demonic Knowledge, or if I implode or whatever from them just being imploded, but point being, it really smooths out your Apex window. So let's get into it here. Say I'm in combat doing whatever, we're pulling a pack, I'm playing Soul Harvester. I am, that's cool. So I cast dogs, whatever. Tyrant, hit Doomguard. There's a spell queue. It should, okay, it didn't spell queue. Perfect, that works, phenomenal. Love this. This is a great game, but I promise you, it should work. Did they break the Tyrant? They might have broken Tyrant shard gen. Oh, they broke my whole game. I'm not editing that out. Let's go! All right, try it again. Okay, we're back. I also realized, even though I had a check mark next to the Soul Harvester talent, we were playing Diabolist when I logged back in. I think it's the build we were playing. Actually, I don't even know why it didn't generate shards, but I've DC'd 4 times since then with critical errors, so if it happens again, we'll figure it out. But like I was saying, your opener should look something like this. So we're going to get in combat here. I'm going to cast dogs for Tyrant, basically. I'm going to try and spell queue my Doomguard so you guys can see like the 3 to 2 to 5 shard thing, right? So we're cast dogs here, whatever, no big deal. Tyrant, slam Doomguard, and there you go. Doomguard's out, 5 shards shed, and then you go Hand of Gul'dan, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, got a Bolt proc, Hand of Gul'dan. I'd implode right here. There's a core from the implosion mesh. You got 2. There we go, implode again. And look at these dog cores coming right now. These are the cores from our dogs, our Dreadstalkers. And look at how many Hand of Gul'dans it fuels in our Apex talent. We're just churning out pets right now. We're churning and churning and churning. I could even get one more pet in here possibly. Maybe very close. If I had more haste, I could have. But like having the guaranteed like 2 cores from Dreadstalkers, knowing that you don't have the extension from Tyrant in Ray of Tyranny, makes your Apex window feel a whole lot better. You might get a core or 2 from Implosion. We actually got 2 there, which was lucky. We even got 1 from Demonic Knowledge. But having those 2 guaranteed cores at certain points in time, and plus, when you don't have Power Siphon anymore because you're playing Implosion, adds to the overall fluidity of the spec. It just feels a lot better in general. And the majority of your damage, once again, does indeed lie in these Apex talent windows, whether it's a Jailer, Sacrolash, a Lithrosis, whatever her name is, or the Inquisitors. They do a lot of damage. Your damage is tied to your Tyrant. And this is what makes it sort of feel almost Nether Portal esque in a sense. That word is scary to a lot of people, but I mean, point being, you know, not as bad as it used to be. So we'll do it one more time here. We'll Q our Grimoire Fell Ravager instead. Our Doomguard's on cooldown for a second or two here. So we'll cast like dogs. Say we're heading into a pack. There we go. We'll Doomguard, Q our Demon. There we go. There's 5 shards. Hand. Another bolt from the Warner Blood proc. Great. Bolt. Okay, I'm done trying. It's the 5th time. But you get what I'm saying. I'm so over this. I'm so done fighting this thing tonight. But my friends are numb. My friends are numb. But you get what I'm saying. It makes Demonology feel a lot more fluid, but you have the issues with Helmet Commander being bugged, taking essentially double the stacks away from, this is going to be a phenomenal video, taking double the stacks away from your Helmet Commander stacks when a set of imps expires or gets imploded. But you also have the other bug with that where or you have the bug with Tyrant, where basically he's gaining value when you implode, and he should be losing and gaining half the value back. So it almost sort of like evens out in a sense, but it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Because obviously, like, there's a Tyrant bug, there's also the to hell and back bug. There's probably the bit of extra tuning that Soul Harvester got. It probably shouldn't have gotten as much as it did, but it's important to point out these bugs. So I mean, we are getting to the later stages of alpha, beta at this point. We're already in pre-patch. Literally launch is actually exactly a month from now. I would have launched 6 hours ago. So these are big bugs that have been around for a while. But I think it's important to drive home that Demonology is good. Some bugs are making it stronger than it seems, and something to be fixed to give it extra power. But it's going to be interesting to see where it lands, tuning-wise. But that's that. That's the Demonology app. I guess the current state of Demonology. A lot of questions revolve around Reign of Tyranny, dog extensions, and all that. Basically, if you're playing it in single target, you don't get those cores coming in there. But if you're playing it in single target, you have Power Siphon. You're not playing Implosion. So Siphon almost substitutes itself for like the, loss or like the loss of early cores in your Apex window. And obviously, like, the more you ramp the Tyrants later on, when you're not like starting combat, you'll typically have cores rolling more often than not from previous dog sets or random imps expiring, so on and so forth. So that's that. I'm not doing this the 5th time. It is what it is. I was going to record AF tonight too. Guess we're waiting on that one. I can't play alpha, or beta, whatever this is. But thanks for watching, guys. If you're not subbed, please sub. It means the world to me. We're almost at 100K, like 800 subs away. It's insane. A lot of insane things are happening tonight, but that's okay. You win some, you lose some. I'll talk to you guys again. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Peace.